Hi, everybody. Welcome. Will you have a seat? We should begin quickly because we're running out of time. There's a bit of an organizational problem, which is that there are three. Hi, may I ask that, excuse me?
Please take your seats.
Excuse me. May I just ask that you sit down? We have to start fairly quickly because we're running out of time. There are three different sessions. We'll start with the People and Knowledge Project, and then there's Iolanda, Pensa, and then there's Dror Kamir. So we're not quite sure how the time operates. Welcome. We want to talk to you about the People and Knowledge film and an oral citations project that many of us here worked on. Three of us in particular will speak for very, very short while, for about a minute, on three different perspectives leading into this. Asaf Batov, who all of you probably know, Shijualex, who equally is equally popular, and myself, who's not. So we'll show the film, but because of time constraints, I might just forward through some bits of it. It's available online on Vimeo and on Wikimedia Commons. Iolanda, Pensa will murder me, actually, if we show the full film. So we'll try and sacrifice some bits of it inside and have a discussion on it immediately after it finishes. So thank you and enjoy.
Interesting because it really is taking it's this idea of knowledge as conversational, and it takes one back to that fabulous Plato quotation. He said, "What is the point of writing? Every time you go back to the book, it gives you the same answer."
There are so many times like that in our histories, where there really was no written record.
What is that? Why are you doing
camera?
This?
No, we're filming the road. It's not the...
No, he's filming me. Let me see it.
There's a lot of things which my father and my grandmother, tell me, and if we use Wikipedia to actually capture that, it will benefit my grandchildren and their children as well.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I'm very sorry that you saw a truncated version of this, but there was a bit of a mix-up about time, and I think we were supposed to have 55 minutes, and I think that the next presentations, or the next presenters, Iolanda, who's speaking about a very exciting project that she's working on, wasn't aware of the time that she had, so we ran the shorter version. The full version is available on Commons and on Vimeo. Asaf, Shiju and I are just going to speak for less than a minute, and then we'd like to have a discussion. We'll each tell you of the perspective that we came to this project and the film. So once again, my name is Aprabhala. I'm a Wikipedian. I've been on the advisory board of the Wikimedia Foundation since 2006-2007 when it was set up. I've helped in working with the community in India and in South Africa and helped in logistical ways. But I, through that time and until now, believe that there are more interesting and challenging questions about what Wikipedia means to the world when it enters the world that had not yet fully been discussed or answered. And in simple logical sequence, I think you could say, quite fairly, that Wikipedia relies on traditional print publishing for its citation base in large part. Print publishing, however, is not a geographically neutral thing and exists in the best way that it does, primarily in the region that invented the process, which means that when you move away from the Anglo-European world, print publishing exists either in a form that is much less or non-existent in comparison to what it is within the Anglo-European world. That then means that the task of growing Wikipedias in languages outside European ones becomes either much more difficult or plain impossible under the set of citation, source, and referencing policies that we currently operate with. So this film is a document of a research project that's underway that has been sort of performed to a large extent, but has some way to go. There's a page up, if any of you are interested. It's been circulating a little bit on the mailing list, and there's been a discussion on it on Foundation L. We are very keen for you to see this as an experiment. At this stage, it's possible even that the problem is more interesting than the potential solution. But it's very much a collaborative exercise that we'd like you to work with us on together. And the idea is for us to find ways to circumvent very real situations that will act and are acting as roadblocks for the future of, I would say, not just non-European language Wikipedias, but for many facets of the Wikimedia movement as a whole. So I won't sort of take any more of your time. Asaf and Shiju have some very small things to say, after which we'll roll with a discussion, which will last only about 10 minutes because there are 2 more presentations to follow from us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Asaf Baltov. I work for the Wikimedia Foundation, and part of what I do is growing Wikimedia in the developing world. So this subject is, of course, dear to my heart. I agree with Achal. The problem at this stage is the thing to bear in mind. We are far from having found a solution, and we shall be thinking about a solution for a good time to come. I would like to mention that having oral citations, having audio, video captures of people delivering knowledge, or what they consider to be knowledge, to be perfectly strict about it, is invaluable, not only in that it may contain some knowledge that may or may not be ultimately verifiable, but this raw media would also be, can I be a little less blinded? Sorry. This knowledge could be a germ that would cause development of further research, of other people looking into the content described in that interview, and maybe other people are able to verify it. They wouldn't have verified it otherwise because they would never have heard of it without the raw interview. So I don't think this was mentioned, so I thought I'd point it out. Other than that, I can just join Achal in inviting you all to take a look at this. The page has a lot more information than the movie. It's on MetaWiki. If you can't find your way around our wikis or don't know the mailing list, please don't hesitate to contact Achal or me, and we can hook you up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shiju. I am from My name is Shiju. I am from India and work primarily in Malayalam Wikipedia. As Achal told, we have a problem. How we can overcome this problem? So this is given as a pilot project, and we have to, Wikipedians have to find out where, especially for non-Latin Wikipedias, which have lack of published resources. We have to find a way how to overcome this one. So this is given as reference. As far as Malayalam language is concerned, As part of this project, we created 2 articles. You have seen one dance performance and a game performing there. And we could go to that particular location and talk to people and get the required information that we can use for Wikipedia. And as of now, we have used that as oral citation for that particular articles. I will just show that article. Yeah, this is one article about that game, and we have used that as oral citation. And we are discussing inside community how we can use oral citation. Community still, we haven't reached a consensus regarding how to use oral citation in the project. It is still under discussions, because all this issue of original research and all this will come up while discussing with the community. So as Wikipedians, we need to find out a solution to overcome all these problems. So we hope the larger Wikipedia community will take up this, and we will be able to reach a solution. So now open to discussions.
We'd be happy to have a discussion. In the interest of time, I think we can have literally maybe about 5 to 7 minutes of discussion. So Asaf, would you like to sort of moderate this? I don't know how this works. Yes.
We really need to be quick, so please make your questions short, and Achal will make his answers short. And we have lunch afterwards, so you are all perfectly invited to carry on these conversations into lunch. So yes, please.
Thank you very much for this project. It's of immense importance for everybody here. I think it's needless to, we don't have enough time to explain how much important this project for different societies, even in Western societies. We have always this knowledge that is getting lost with the elders, with the immigrants, that are not capable of transferring technology even to their own offspring. And I would like just to address one specific side issue to the kind of data that you're collecting, to those recordings, because there comes the issue of regret that is not covered by the Creative Commons license. That is, one may provide you with certain kind of information which might be more sensitive than some child game, and one day or another he might end up rethinking the idea of his interview being spread around and anyone being capable of republishing it and using it for derivative work, or maybe his children maybe regret this thing. And I'm not sure the Creative Commons license and the Wikimedia Commons repository is a proper place to store this information, just like other kinds of references that we use in Wikipedia are not necessarily open source.
That is a good question, but it's not short.
Yeah. No, not a short question, but thank you very much. I mean, I think that there is a way by which, publishing is a system of power, and in a completely, non-judgmental sense. And so there are, in the course of this project, a lot of people who are interested in something that's on the margins of the center have come up with their own stories of things that could benefit from an oral citation. But yes, thank you. And I think there are a lot of oral archives as well, which don't follow a CC license, which could be opened up as sources of citation and reference. That's a possibility that we considered as well.
Let's take in Andrew.
Yeah, I think it's spectacular. And maybe because I haven't been on Foundation now that much, I haven't seen the discussion, but I promise I'll end this with a question. But I think the funny thing is, I don't know if you realize that you solve 2 problems in one shot, in that you get more citations here, but you've also solved the Wiki News problem. So what should Wiki News be doing? It shouldn't be doing breaking news. It should be doing this. It should be doing feature news gathering, which is what you're doing here, which is just amazing. And if you do realize the dream of putting the Wikipedia efforts into Wiki News to do feature stuff, then you will produce in 1 week what National Geographic does in 1 year. And that is lots of great potential there. So the question is...
Somebody tweet that.
Yeah, yeah, let's go that tweet. Has that news angle been discussed in your group? Or, I mean, it's really fascinating. And you're basically doing feature news gathering. And I'm working with Ward Cunningham right now. And
yeah.
I'm trying to do video news gathering in a distributed fashion, and there's complete overlap.
So there's a very bright gentleman here, Michel Castelo Branco from Brazil, for those of you who haven't met him. But he was suggesting that earlier to us as well, to look at policies in the Wikipedia movement which allow for original research, and there are some, which is quite interesting, because not all of us knew that. I certainly didn't. Wikinews, of course, being the best example of this. I think that at the moment, what we'd like to do in terms of taking this forward, I think it's always a possibility that Wikinews could be a place to feed into the citation base of Wikipedia. I think what we'd like to do is work through a system to see how this can contribute to an overall rethink, if necessary, of the way sources and citations and policies around them are managed across the movement in a somewhat equitable and equal sense.
Okay, we have time for 2 quick questions. Go.
So when we cite printed sources, we look for credibility, and who will be the authority for these oral citations? Like anyone can record anything, and how do you verify it?
I think that's a very good question, and it's one that we had on our minds as well. There have been several suggestions that have come up, some on the page, some on the foundational mailing list, and some in personal conversations. But things like, for instance, how can we have a protocol? Can we improve the protocol to say a set of questions that have to be asked of each interviewee, right? For instance, as to what their knowledge of the subject is and how they came upon it, right? And so the idea would be not to have a rating system for experts, because, for instance, we were working on that article on a traditional liquor called morula, made in Hasebotlane, which is a very small village very far away from Joburg. And I would wager that the world experts on the process of that morula were the women. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a very interesting question. I think you should join the conversation on the FAQ, which I shall sign you up for right after this. But I think that there are lots of questions that we don't know the answers to. We believe that the problem is a real one. We believe that this is an experiment in the right direction. Where it goes is up to you.
Yeah, one comment and one question. I think that what's been not discussed that much is the fact that the European languages will benefit from this too. They can improve their articles, and I think that should be brought up more. Because a lot of that information doesn't exist in there because
I was not aware of that. We were concentrating on non-Latin languages. So, once the article is created in our Wikipedias, it can be easily translated to European languages also. So, that Wikipedias will also benefit from this.
And then the question, have you thought about that when you use these oral or languages with like a strong oral tradition, to also have more emphasis on the audio wikis to bring that information back to the people who are not necessarily literate at all? There have been some attempts to have audio people reading the articles.
Actually, there were just a few of us working far too much on this with far too little money, so no, we haven't thought that far. The files are up on Wikimedia Commons. We have transcripts in multiple languages, and so at the moment, we're just concentrating on actually transcribing the interviews. But look, it's on Wikimedia Commons, and so they're freely licensed, and hopefully these files can travel beyond the Wikimedia movement. But now, just in the interest of Iolanda's presentation and my health, which will be severely affected if the presentation doesn't start on time, we should probably wrap up.
Yeah. Well, almost. So if you want to talk to Achal, he's actually heading out to the airport, unfortunately. So you have to catch him right after we finish here. But I would just like, and Shiju will stick around. So I would just like to end this by saying, it cannot be just the business of the Indic language communities or the African language communities. It has to concern everybody in the movement, and I leave you with that thought. So, moving right on, thank you, Achal and Shiju. I would like to invite Ms. Iolanda Pensa to discuss WikiAfrica, call for last mile operators.
So interesting that. Can I just get the computer?
Mine. Yeah, it's behind you. That's
Do you need a?
This is the sound.
Good morning.
Do you have sound?
Can I? No, I don't need sound. Thanks. Good morning. I represent here Lettera 27 Foundation, the 27 Letter Foundation, Wikimedia Italy, and the Africa Center. And Isla Haddow Flo, I have it on the phone to see if she can, she's in South Africa, and to see if she can eventually at least grab some of the conversation. Otherwise, she will surely be well, the aim of this presentation is, of course, to present WikiAfrica, a project that was launched by Lettera 27 Foundation, but involved a lot of organization. And more specifically, Wikimedia Italy was a partner of the project since the beginning, and the Africa Center just joined in. Actually, also, Aprabhala was involved in one of the projects because he's one of the magazine, he's one of the director of the magazine Civil Lines, which was eventually part of Chimurenga Library. So just a little bit of feedback on why this project. Lettera 27 Foundation was created in 2006 with the aim of promoting access to knowledge and education in this century. So of course the links and connection are part of the core interest of the foundation. Also, of course, talking about education in 2006 means talking about the internet. And the foundation decided to focus rather on sub-Saharan Africa, because when you look at the content available online, what you'll see is, of course, content from Africa are the least represented, and also users from Africa are the least represented. I think this map is also is a very well-known map of the world by night, but it's obviously, it doesn't really represent what the digital divide is, because the reality is that it doesn't represent a mobile phone, it doesn't represent a VoIP call through the internet, and it doesn't represent a lot of things that are happening. Also, another problem is related, of course, to power. So, of course, you have a lot of websites of cultural institutions, you have a lot of projects working online, but there is also a problem related to hubs, so where actually people get access to the information, and which are the places where, of course, this is an old map again, but I think it's one of the very well designed to express a little bit the situation. And Wikipedia, of course, represents a hub. Also a way people can get access to information without looking for them, which is a very big difference. So as soon as the foundation was created, Wikipedia represented the meaning of education we were interested in. And we immediately established this collaboration with Wikimedia that was as well very interested in working on Africa and seeing which way we could contribute both. When we talk about Africa, it's of course such a wide meaning. You talk about community, infrastructure, languages, just to give you some of the hints. You also talk about diaspora, the capacity also of migrants to represent their own culture in different places and sources, which is of course, as we listen, a very important and major topic, also related to first sources and the availability of it. From 2006 up to 2009, we decided to focus on mainly three areas of specific interest. So research, financing, first source research, training and presentation. The idea was really to encourage people to share their knowledge on Wikipedia, so it became the payoff. And we supported one of the first source research that we supported is this really amazing research project done on a magazine. It's called the Chimurenga Library. Chimurenga is a very well-known South African magazine. And this is a selection of magazines from all over the world that influenced thinking in Africa and writing. They achieved to have the contribution of around 26 magazines are featured on this website. They made available some of the PDF, and they involved artists and writers to talk about the magazine, so to create first source about the magazine. And this is the project I was referring to with the collaboration of Ashal. And it's really, the project produced first source on available magazine. Other projects that have been developed and related to first source is research on Douala, which is one of the most active city in Central Africa. Well, it's actually one of the most active city around the world in public art. So what they've been doing was documenting the specific monuments, project, workshop that have been produced, and produce first source, so publishing it. They also been still working on a mapping project, also in collaboration with the state of Cameroon. And if you have any idea of the political situation in Cameroon, the fact that they achieved to have access to data of the city council was quite an amazing result, also related to quality of water and related to all the available access to water. Other projects linked to WikiAfrica are more specifically related to training. Kerchosan is an organization based in Dakar that have been doing a very big work on open source software and hardware. They just developed a toolkit to facilitate the production, interactive design and interactive work. And Wikipedia became one of the tools they were using inside their training given to intellectual authors and artists. Among the presentation, I'm just going to go quickly through the Dakar Biennale, the African Studies Association. Some also linked to Lettera 27 Foundation is financed by Moleskine, so we took the advantage of the network of this society and the exhibition to support WikiAfrica. Many artists gave a notebook to support also economically the project. They personalized, I don't know, Lou Reed, for example, made a notebook, and the project was used to support this artwork, this production was used. But also artists from South Africa and from Senegal, just to say it very quickly. Other interesting involvement were related to authors. There have been even Wole Soyinka Nobel Prizes. They supported the project with quotation, even though it doesn't really produce a physical result in the amount of articles you can make. The only effort we tried to create a format was on a workshop level, in which basically you do a conference, and while you produce the conference, you produce article on Wikipedia. And we call it the WikiAfrica workshop. So during the conference, some editors from Wikipedia were producing the articles on the same time, and which obviously created problems related to citation and quotes and sources. But it was a model very efficient to explain what Wikipedia is, because of course immediately you see that the encyclopedia changes while you're attending a presentation, when you're listening to first source. The feedback about the project, or at least the reaction, was very difficult. In particular, Chimurenga, this magazine from South Africa, was really offended by Wikipedia. The notability of all the sources they collected, so they created a first source project. So they produce articles. They had writers and intellectuals contributing to it. So they produced 4 sources. They published it online. They achieved, obviously, to use the right copyright. At the time, Creative Commons was not already in place, so they used the new license. And the notability of all their article was questioned. Even the fact that their English was Black English, so at least what they call Chimurenga Library has a very strong research also related to the language and the way they use the language. So it was questioned, the format of an encyclopedia of 18th century. The process of putting the licensing was quite complicated. So the feedback from that experience was extremely negative. Not in terms of, there's been an interest in Wikipedia as a concept, but then the reality of contributing to it was, I would say, a failure. This was the reason why we decided to produce a milestone. So to say, okay, in 2009 and 2010, we decided to, we should contribute to Wikipedia with 30,000 African contribution by 2012. So this is with Wikimedia Italy and with the Africa Center, a collaboration we just established. What we are looking for is African contribution is a very weird expression, but it includes a lot of things. It includes images, of course, contributed to new articles, editing to new existing articles. And we decided to move in 3 directions. So the involvement of cultural institutions, because we're talking about sources, but there are already available sources. The problem is how you can bridge them to Wikipedia. This procedure of bridging content to Wikipedia is related, of course, to the authorization of the institution, but is also related to how can you find those sources interesting, and how can you explain users how they can use this material. Another way, of course, we decided to implement the project is developing this collaboration in partnership with an institution based in South Africa. And the last, obviously, necessary step is how to count those articles. So Share Your Knowledge is a project we've been developing to create a sort of a process that goes that allows cultural institutions to more easily share their content. The partnership I was mentioning before, and also we decided the contributor will define by themselves the number. So we will not stamp articles on Wikipedia, which is a procedure that is we don't think is interesting and valuable, but we ask people to define how many articles they want to contribute to. And we are very interested in an article that cross, because the more we have the same people and the same, or different institutions, sorry, the more we have different people and different institutions working on the same content, then you will have content that is more valuable, because it's also the I would say the production of a discussion and negotiation. Share Your Knowledge is the project we developed. We started this year. Basically, what we started with the consideration of where cultural institutions are, and we decided to work on 2 tools, Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike. We established a collaboration for this with Creative Commons, and we have 2 lawyers working with us, and with Wikipedia, of course, that is the second element. Basically, the process is going to continue in 2012, and this year we started with some case studies, and what happens basically is how you can encourage institutions to, well, how can you put institutions in a position in which they can actually adopt a Creative Commons license, which is the first step. So we made contracts, partnership with all the institutions, the 10 institutions eventually. We wanted to invite 5, but we actually had a very good reaction by 10 institutions. So we had administrators of the organization, general secretary, that signed everything. And we found that quite easy. There's a very true interest in contributing to access to knowledge. And then we assist the institution in the procedure necessary to adopt the Creative Commons license on a selection of their content and contributing to Wikipedia. We will repeat this experience next year with the guidelines that we produced this year. Of course, the project is very similar to GLAM. So we started the page of GLAMS on the Italian version of Wikipedia, and those are just the institution we've been collaborating with. So Nigrizia is a magazine specialized in Africa that was created at the end of 19th century. That has the entire archive of the magazine was made available in Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike. Festivals, the Festival of African Cinema in Italy. The majority of the institutions, except the Africa Center, are Italian institutions, because we had the problem of needing to get the experience with the lawyer in a specific country to know what is the the procedure to adopt the license. So everything that is related to copyright laws on their archives, which we found, well, I will give you just a few hints on what we found afterward. Probably the biggest result is Fondazione Cariplo that adopted the license on some major archive. Fondazione Cariplo is one of the most powerful foundation in Italy. It finances 4,000 NGOs every year. And they are thinking of asking institutions to specify with which license they will deliver the content financed by the foundation. And this foundation, what is interesting is that, of course, changing also the dynamic of a grants system, it's a very quick way of making institutions aware of copyrights. Because if the application form requires to specify the copyright for the content, that is a very quick step to actually reach a very wide network. And also they can provide assistance for that, so it's also another advantage. We also have arts institutions that adopted the license, cooperation NGOs. COSV is an Italian organization that is more known in Mozambique than in Italy. And they did a lot of researches and they train journalists. ISMO is a research center for multi-ethnicity and intercultural studies, other intercultural studies institution, public art organization, and also the Festival of Tarifa, which is another cinema festival that based in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, in Tarifa, sorry, based in Spain. Well, finally, also Chimurenga, the magazine I was telling you about, that had so many difficulties on Wikipedia, adopted the license, and it was more reassured by a sort of seeing also a broader network involved. Just to give you an idea of the problems, there are quite a few problems. We found that the majority of cultural institutions actually don't really produce much new content. This is the most scary thing, and I think that can be the most useful outcome of the project. The majority of content are copy and paste, and since people feel this need of creating portals and creating encyclopedic knowledge on their own website instead of producing new researches, you have a very limited investment in new content. And I think this is very scary, and I think Wikipedia can be very helpful from this point of view, because when background information is fully available, you don't have any excuse to reproduce and copy and paste existing knowledge. Another thing that we noticed, another aspect that we noticed, is that Creative Commons, well, we're not very used to learn new things. This is in general. And learning copyright, Creative Commons, Wikipedia, is a process that the institution we've been discussing with, they had some problem to do it. From this point of view, OTRS, so this this system, it's much more efficient and more easy to do, even though the advantage of Creative Commons is that it's open to everybody. So there is also this this double aspect. Also the difference between open access, talking about open access is very difficult. People find a lot of obstacle in understanding open access, while talking about sharing your knowledge was got a very positive feedback. We also established a system of evaluation for the project in Italy, but also worldwide will be extended, because the plan for 2012 is really to extend the project. And the last aspect I wanted to present is also the work that the Africa Center is developing in South Africa. The methodology they are using is always related to cultural institutions. We are working in parallel with them for this procedure of making content available in Creative Commons and contributing to Wikipedia and involving cultural institutions. And they now establish links with Wikimedia South Africa, which is the perfect, obviously, partner for the project. And they already have a very large network of cultural institutions around the continent, and they call it Pan-African. So all the links with the diaspora and this Africa that is not only a continent, but is really a transversal theme, I would say. You can find more information on WikiAfrica, of course, the project page on Wikipedia. And the last thing I wanted to address is what we would like to do now is actually to develop a European project. So to link together Wikimedia in Europe, Wikimedia chapter in Europe, to see if it's possible to have a Wikimedia assistant in involving new institutions, since it's a very good moment, and there is such a good response from European institutions and all over the places. But of course, having a reference institution in specific country makes it easier. So the other element that we think it can be really helpful is associating Wikipedian in residence to some of the institutions that we have been involving in sub-Saharan Africa. That can be a facilitator, can be obviously a physical presence, but also a virtual one. And we found really that having a sort of help desk locally, but also internationally, it works very efficiently. Thank you very much. Do you want me to?
So we have time for a couple of questions. Go ahead.
When you are aiming this 30,000 contributions, which language Wikipedias?
No, we didn't. No, we don't have limits of languages. We didn't thought it was a criteria. We also noticed that a lot of discussion we had with Wikipedians, like the presentation we had also in collaboration with Wikimedia, there was a very strong interest in local languages or African languages. While some of the cultural institutions we've been talking to, so it's a specific target, they were more interested in making their content available on the English or the French or the Portuguese Wikipedia than on local languages. So I think it's one of the elements, but I think there is a lot of, there are many directions that can be done.
I think you should work with those cultural institutions to understand the power of the local language if you have development aims as well. You know, they are European funded big language cultural institutions in Africa. That's foreign policy that they are working for. And I think you should, as an independent player in there, emphasize the local languages, because we know from research that if we look for development, the use of the local languages.
It's I get your point. I think it's an issue, but at the same time, I don't think. I think a cultural institution or the people, the real people we're talking to, they can actually take the decision by themselves. From my experience in researching and the content we had until now, this was not a priority. So I would not force, also in Cameroon, for example, the organization we're working with, Dualart, all the students they're working with, they follow the school entirely in French. And also, another problem is there are 260 languages in Cameroon. So the desire is really to bridge a communication. Also, the very specific situation of Dualart, this organization, working in Douala, so a 4 million inhabitants city, so very big cities, they produce a lot of public art and intervention and a very innovative project, is that they still struggle to be recognized. So for them, the use of Wikipedia, for them it makes sense to give background information also on the city. So I think there are, it's also true that there's always time and space for those. So I don't think it should be there should be a ending answer also. I'm sorry, I can. I'm sorry.
He's asking, are you looking at certain categories of companies for the adoption of CC licenses?
Yes, we actually for the project this pilot that we launched in 2011 was a project that we launched only, mainly in Italy, and we looked for a non-profit and for private institution. So we avoided, in a very specific way, public institution, because and we looked for a small and medium-sized organization, I would say, because we wanted to adapt the project to the African reality, and we thought that working with NGOs and working with non-profit, it's much easier because of the you don't need to go through the government system, which is still something that I think requires other steps. So we kind of specifically target NGOs. Thank you.
Apart from Central African Studies at University of Cape Town, are you guys working with any other African institution, any other academic institution, or GLAM institution?
We're now trying to establish more collaboration with Wikimedia chapters, so of course with GLAM, the GLAM network. We, as a foundation, as Lettera 27 Foundation, we do have as a policy choice in the foundation to work rather with a partner with which we already worked than with new one. So we give priority to continuity. So the three partners we've been working with specifically are Chimurenga Magazine in South Africa, Dual Art in Cameroon, and Kerchosan in Senegal. So for us are a priority. But right now we are establishing a research project which is also across Wikipedia and also mobile phone technology and assessing the impact of art and cultural intervention on urban security. We're working also with the Africa Center for Cities, University of Cape Town in Cape Town, and with Luanda, the Luanda Triennale. We also had some collaboration with cinema festivals, quite a lot actually, in Zanzibar and in Ouagadougou, the FESPACO, and we had a collaboration with the Dakar Biennale, which is the major contemporary art biennale in we also are negotiating with Goethe Institute. They have a portal they are developing on cinema, on African cinema, and also with the British Council, because they've been supporting several projects in Zimbabwe in particular. In particular, we were interested. Sorry, can I? No, please. What else? The Agence de la Francophonie, the Francophone agency, the information program. They are very interested in working. Of course, working in Africa. It's a priority, and they manage the network of archives and museums. Okay.
So while he sets up, I will take the opportunity to ask one final question of Iolanda. You mentioned the negative response to the contributions of that magazine. Could you say in just a few words something about the relationship with Wikipedian communities as these content contributions were coming in?
I think it is really an issue related to community. It is actually the problem, or you need to. I heard a lot of discussion about interface and how editors can be facilitated in the process. But actually, Wikipedia is really a community. And this is something that a new user have a very big problem in dealing with. Because very often you prepare a content and you upload it without creating a travel experience through that content. So you just stick it. And if it's perfect, the content probably will stay and somebody will help you. But if the content is weak or there is a language that is different from what is expected, of course you will collapse with the community. So the main problem was really an attitude, I think, from both sides. So I don't think it's not welcoming Wikipedia. Is really the approach that was developed was difficult. And also, I think for a cultural institution that affirmed, well, Chimurenga is very well known internationally. It has been, the director was at MIT presenting, Centre Pompidou, the Berlin Academy. It was internationally exhibited. So it's a project that is really appreciated internationally, financed by very important. So the process of negotiating your space, having to start this again, this process, was very frustrating. So I think that it was one of the issues related. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Dro will be speaking for just 6 minutes, so stick around and then lunch.
Okay, so I'll be very brief. Some of you might have heard the story I'm going to tell yesterday, but I'm going to repeat it for the sake of those of you who couldn't hear it yesterday. Anyway, you've already seen this map in Iolanda's presentation, and this is a map that was devised by Dr. Mark Graham from Oxford University. And here it deals with an article about biographies of people from different countries. And then, as you can see, these maps are really similar because Africa is not really covered. When we're talking about important people from Africa and from many other countries outside Europe and Northern America, we see that the coverage is really low. And this is, in fact, what made me, okay, we'll get to this in a moment. This is, in fact, what made me, this is the concern that made me send an email to the Africa Center to the Israeli Africa Center in Beersheba of the Ben Gurion University in Beersheba, and ask them whether they can help us improve the state of articles about Africa on the Hebrew Wikipedia and the English Wikipedia, and maybe in other languages as well, because you know there are many students who speak foreign languages in Israel. So we had, they of course invited us to a meeting, and they were quite enthusiastic about this idea, and Asaf was also there with me, and many other people from Wikimedia Israel and Israeli Wikipedians. And then while we were talking about this, first of all we found out that they know quite a lot about Wikipedia and even sent students to write articles as assignments on the Hebrew Wikipedia. And then they also told us that they send regular missions of students to Africa to help in medical and educational jobs there. And this is one of the places where they were sent. It's called Sanchu, and it is a rural area in Cameroon. And we told them that first we weren't sure that we have the right languages. We told them that we can provide an offline version of Wikipedia because the internet connection there is not so is not good enough for online browsing of Wikipedia. So we offered them offline versions, and yet we're a bit skeptical about the feasibility because of language barrier. Then we were told that actually they are educated in French. So this was this seems quite easy because the French Wikipedia, the French language Wikipedia, is already quite large and comprehensive. And yet we had two additional problems. That was getting computers on which we can install the offline versions of Wikipedia, and also making some adaptations to the platform. Okay. So eventually, with the help of Israeli NGOs and also OpenSim from Switzerland, from Wikipedia Switzerland, we were able to send these missions with computers, with offline version of the French language Wikipedia. And as you can see, a computer room was built there in Sanchu. And at some point, here you can see them already working with Wikipedia. This is perhaps, you see this is the article about Cameroon on the French language Wikipedia. It started actually when two schoolgirls asked if those newcomers from Israel and also from Spain could help them find some references for a school assignment they had. And they told them, why won't you go and look at Wikipedia? And they found a treasure, basically, because books and other reference and resources are scarce there. And as far as I was told, well, I wasn't there, but after we interviewed the people who came back from there, they told that the next day the whole village was standing in line before the computer room. Unfortunately, there were only 2 computers with the offline version, but practically they were looking for anything, any information they could find, including, for example, medical information, people who suffered from certain diseases like diabetes, for example, and couldn't find enough information about, background information about this disease. And of course, children were there all the time looking at articles, also articles about Israel, because the people who those people who gave them the computers came from Israel and they didn't know much about this country. So they were looking for articles about Israel and of course about Cameroon, the country where they live. And eventually that proved as a huge success with very, with not much effort, because all the elements were there. All we had to do is combine them together to kind of make the link between the people, the organizations, and the necessary technical adaptations. Well, this picture says it all. And well, Asaf signals me that we're out of time, so if you have any questions or comments, we have about 2 minutes.
Yeah, let's do the rest as questions and answers so we can focus this on what interests you most, and then off to lunch we go. Questions? Yes.
That's an interesting question. First of all, we're going to do this more. And we are in contact with the Africa Center in Beersheba to send more computers with offline versions with the next missions. I would like to see more contributions from Africa to either the English Wikipedia or French Wikipedia or whatever, because I think it must be bidirectional. It's not one way, this project. It must be bidirectional.
Questions?
By the way, Leo was also there with us.
Right.
At the meeting.
So they didn't go with recorders on that mission, but we hope next year's mission can take recorders and more computers and be better trained. We certainly are improving the program. More questions? Yes. Mayan, speak up, please. Yes, so like I said, better training, better preparation. The thing is, at the time the mission went out, the offline reader was not ready for Windows, only Linux. So we gave them computers with Linux, which is of course also more aligned with our general values. But we didn't have time to train them properly on Linux. The students were all used to Windows, and so as you can probably imagine, they had difficulty just using the computer. I think she misspoke. It's not that there was any software that was not compatible. Of course, it had OpenOffice and everything else, but they just had trouble operating that Linux machine. And because of the very weak internet connectivity, they had one mobile modem, and they had to go somewhere special to get any reception, etc. We only had a very weak and intermittent email connection with those students, and so we could give them tech support in a rather haphazard way. And so that was certainly a frustration of that experience. If Mayan is still around, I could introduce you to her. She is one of the students who have been to Cameroon, and she's full of stories. Last question.
Yes, definitely. Well, after we consulted with the Africa Center, they told us there is not much demand in Cameroon or in Benin or in this kind of, or Angola. There is not much demand for reference books or encyclopedias in local languages because they are educated in either French or Portuguese or sometimes English. So there is a kind of cultural gap here between what we perceive as the proper use of language, so to speak, and what African people perceive as, I mean, they have no problem with using their mother tongue only in their private conversation and having education in other languages. They might even see this as an advantage. We have a problem. I mean, here I take the Western, so to speak, point of view and say that because they don't write in their native languages, we are losing here a lot of information because each language is a source of information by the very way it is structured, by its vocabulary, etc. So we do have interest to go there and convince them to write at least a bit in their native tongue so we won't be deprived of this information. And this is what I said about this bi-directional connection between Europe, North America, and Africa. While we can provide them with offline versions of Wikipedia, we also need to come to them and ask them to bring us their information.
By way of a closing remark, I will add that we at the Wikimedia Foundation are indeed thinking about ways we can support native languages that have small or non-existent or struggling Wikipedias. It is a formidable challenge, not just for the reasons mentioned that many of these languages don't have written forms or don't have any existing literature, but also getting them bootstrapped when the perceived value of contributing to such a Wikipedia by native speakers is low. We're looking into that. We have a couple of ideas in the works. We shall probably have more to announce by next Wikimania. And I thank you for your patience, and let's have lunch.